Now, President Donald Trump wants you to pay for his ridiculous military parade. Now, according to the Washington Post, the White House, the National Park Service is now having to divert about $2.5 million in fees gathered from parkgoers to help pay for the cost of President Trump's 4th of July celebration. Now, the White House, they said, has been preparing for the president's, quote, salute to America. On Thursday, a grand parade meant to showcase what Trump has called the, quote, strongest and most advanced military on the planet. So now, look, there's no question that we are, of course, the strongest and most advanced military. We only spend more than the entirety of the world, what the world spends on the military, on our military. Over $700 billion a year go into our military. It's kind of a foregone conclusion if you spend that much money on your basically your offense budget, because it's not a defense budget, then yeah, you're going to have a pretty strong military, right? So that's kind of the whole reason, by the way, that we don't do military parades. And there are, of course, other reasons. The fact that it looks very, very fascist, and there are, of course, dictators that do military parades. But anyway, Donald Trump, he wants to do this. He's interested, and he's like, I want to show the military. I want to show how tough I am. All right, here we go. So now, in preparation for this, now they've got tanks coming up from Georgia. They have a planned flyover by Air Force One, as well as a promised biggest ever fireworks display. Now, look, I'm in favor of the fireworks display, but not anything else. But see, you know what this is, right? This is Donald Trump flexing his penis. That's what this is about. Now, aside from how ridiculous it is to have a military parade inside the United States, which, again, we don't do. North Korean, they do it. But it's also going to cost a lot more than what the normal celebration would cost. In fact, the Post noted that the entire Independence Day celebration usually costs the National Park Service about $2 million, right? Now, the National Park Service was directed to divert park entrance and recreation fees to help cover some of the additional costs of this year's event, according to two anonymous sources familiar with the planning. Now, those fees, and here's the kicker, right? Such fees are often used on maintenance and improvements across the national park system. So, wait. That money is used to maintain the parks, right? But thanks to Donald Trump and the Republican Party, of course, there's a lot of parks that can't do those improvements, can't do that maintenance. Why? Well, the entire National Park Service, which covers 418 national parks, has a nearly $12 billion in deferred maintenance due to a budget shortfall. Now, who's been in control of the budgets? That would be the Republican Party. They continue to cut funding for national park services, and so, of course, they're going to have a very, very low budget. And now Donald Trump is stealing even more money from the National Park Service to fund his ridiculous parade. So, congratulations, right? We don't have enough money to maintain the parks for the people who want to enjoy them, but we have more than enough money to for Donald Trump's dick flexing parade. Now, the Post reports that it's unclear how much this will actually cost, and Trump administration officials have refused to share a number, but the estimates are really, really high. The event will feature aircraft flyovers, including display for the Navy's Blue Angels, pyrotechnics, tanks, and other military hardware. And the Post also noted that officials have been scrambling to try to project an image on the Washington Monument, even though the National Park Service does not typically allow such displays. But are you going to say no to the baby? Apparently not. Now, news of the diverted fees, of course, prompted a swift rebuke from advocates for the National Park Service, people like Teresa Pierno, who's president of the National Parks Conservation Association. She told the Post that this amounted to a, quote, breach of public trust. Quote, the public pays park fees to fix national parks and for educational programs, not the president's parade. Sure, that's what we used to do with the money, but that was before we had a narcissistic man-child as president of the United States. Now we're having military parades to honor someone who was in love with Kim Jong-un. I guess it makes sense in that context. Donald Trump loves dictators, probably wants to be a dictator. I mean, he's already gotten started with the concentration camps at the border. Why not finish it off, cap it off, with a crazy military parade? Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent progressive media.